If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh EIlahi, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the Property Rebel with your host Arsh EIlahi. And in today's session, I'm going to be talking about some of the most creative ways that I've used to generate direct-to-vendor leads. Now, before we do that, I want to say a quick hello to all listeners all around the world, wherever you may be. I want to say thanks for checking in and really hope that you enjoy the Property Rebel podcast. So straight into it, guys. So if you've been on some kind of training, they've all told you that getting direct to vendor leads is the best way of getting the best possible deal. And I cannot deny that. I definitely cannot deny that because let's face it, an estate agent is generally looking out for their clients, but also they're looking out for themselves. When I say this is that the more they can get for their clients, the higher their commission will be. And just give me an example, if a property is on the market for £100,000 and if they're generating around 1% for that, if they hit the £100,000, that means that their commission is £1,000. However, if they now get an offer of £90,000 for that property instead of the £100,000, means that their commission has also dropped because it's 1% of whatever the sell price is. So it will drop down to £900. So when an estate agent is quite reluctant to put forward a below market value offer, they're generally looking from a business point of view that not only are they going to be putting an offer forward to the owner, which the owner may reject or look unfavorably on, but the agency is also thinking that this is going to cost us a lot in our commission. So there is a bit of selfishness there, and there always is in business. So I'm going to be talking to you today about some of the most creative ways. I'm going to tell you a few stories as well as to what I've done over the last 20 years that have got me the best deals. So grab a pen and paper because you won't hear this anywhere else. I don't think anyone else has ever taught you about this. Now, I'm going to say that some of these are very close to the wind, or you're sailing quite close to the wind. And the reason why I say this is because they may not be to everyone's taste. I completely appreciate that. But what I can tell you is that they generate so many leads, and more importantly, the right kind of leads. So the first one, which is absolutely gold. If you want to try and find properties where they're probates, what's the best way of doing that? Now, lots of people will say, and bear in mind that we're just about to come out of lockdown and we've had the last 12 months of COVID or the last 18 months of COVID. And there's lots of people that have died, and we don't want to be the kind of person that is ambulance chasing, but ultimately we've also got to kind of have in the back of our mind that there's a massive opportunity here. I spoke to an estate agent friend of mine and he goes, "Gosh, we're getting so many bungalows on the market at the moment." And I said, "That's interesting. Why bungalows?" He goes, "Because the amount of old people that have died from COVID-19, and as a result of that, part of their estate is that they've left a property, and a lot of old people live in bungalows." So that, he goes, "We're getting a glut of bungalows on the market." Over the last 20 years, I've used pretty much every kind of marketing tactic there is out there, and one that I found worked really well, especially if you're looking to get direct to vendor or direct to the person that is dealing with the probate. Now, if you don't know about probate, when someone passes away, generally speaking, someone will be dealing with their will, or they will have an executor to the will. This is the person that pretty much has power of attorney to look after the financial affairs of the person that's deceased. So just to give you an example, just imagine your grandma, grandfather, let's just hope nothing happens, but if one of them pass away, then naturally a person in that family will be then granted the executor of that will, and that will be the person that will have the power of attorney to decide what goes on with the deceased's assets. So it could be that they have some money in the bank, it could be that they own a property, it could be that they have other kind of assets. Where does it get divided? How does it get divided? And to who does it get divided? So one thing that I did is that I got a phone call from a company, and it's one of these marketing companies, and they go, Arsh, we understand that you run a company called We Buy Properties Fast, which I do. I've still got it. It's webuypropertiesfast.co.uk. We've got a high street presence in Wolverhampton. And he goes, we've got an opportunity for you. And I said, okay. He goes, we work on behalf of funeral directors. So hopefully now, straight away, the light bulb moment should have gone off. Ting! Funeral directors. He goes, we work for funeral directors across the country. And when someone passes away, then the executor of the will or the family are presented with a death certificate. So if you've had someone pass away recently, when someone passes away, the hospital or they generally provide you with a death certificate to say that this person has now deceased, this is the time, date and the cause of the death. And you have to present that to the funeral directors in order for them to carry out the funeral services. Now, the funeral director will then pass this family of the deceased a marketing pack. Well, when I say a pack, giving them a list of all their services. So it's generally a folder. It's an A4 folder which you can open up and there's a slot in the middle. And I decided that I was going to mark it on the inside. So just imagine that you've got a folder. Now with your hands, open up that folder. So you've got your hands right in front of you. On the left-hand side, there was my advert. Sorry to hear of your loss. At this time, we believe there may be some difficult decisions that are to be made. If you would like to discuss some of the assets that your deceased may have left behind, we're more than happy to come and give you some impartial and free advice. So it was along the lines, it wasn't a case of we buy your properties for cash, come and see us. You know, if someone's passed away, come and talk to us and we'll have a look at your property. And we found that this worked so well. The advert was tastefully done, it was respectfully done, and as a result, we got so many leads. Someone said, oh, my grandfather passed away or my mother's passed away. And as part of their estate, they had a property that they used to live in. We're not sure whether we're going to rent it or we're going to sell it. We'd rather, there's 6 of us that this property now is owed to, or that we now own. There's 6 siblings that the property's been left to, and we'd rather sell it as opposed to rent it. We don't really want to have to go through the hassle of dealing with an estate agent or anything like that. We'd rather, if you can offer us a quick cash offer, we'd rather go down that route. You've got to remember, the reason why they're now speaking to us is because they've not really got any emotional attachment to this property, whereas a homeowner living in this property may have an emotional attachment to it. Well, they will have an emotional attachment to it, but someone that's just literally been gifted this property, they've got no emotional attachment to it. Let's just imagine that, Nan and Granddad has been lived in that property. As far as they're concerned, this is now a gift. They would rather take the money now as opposed to stick it on with an estate agent and wait 3, 6, 9 or 12 months for the property to sell. If I can offer them an offer now, this is where we really benefit. So I advertised and I did it for 12 months consecutively. So I had to commit to 12 months and we advertised, I can't remember how many hundreds of funeral directors across the country, and it was phenomenal. And remember, because there'll be no mortgages on these properties. Generally, there'll be, because of the executor, the will, they've got no attachment to it. This is where the deals were getting done. So if it was worth 100 grand, we were offering, circa between 60 and 70 grand. And saying, guys, well, if it's got to be a commercial transaction, I appreciate that you want a quick sell. In order for us to be cash, this is what we can kind of offer. If you're after the full market value, we suggest that you go down the road to the estate agents like the likes of Connells, the Reeds Rains and the national estate agents, and they may be able to get you a little bit more, but bearing in mind that the property may not always be in the best of condition. So if it's an old grandparents that have left, it's not going to be in the best of condition. So in that respect, you have to take into consideration, it's going to take a bit of time to sell. It may not get through a mortgage valuation for whatever reason. And so, these were the conversations that I was having with the vendors, or the new vendors, or the executor of the will, or the people that have got the power of attorney over the state. So it worked really well. that was one of my biggest tips that I'll share on this podcast. The other thing that you could be doing is talking to will specialists. So will specialist solicitors. And you can say to them, guys, okay, I appreciate that, this is a very sensitive subject. So I don't want you to all literally call a solicitor that deals with will. Hi, if you know that someone's dying, can you give me a quick call and let's have a chat? Because that won't go down well. That definitely won't go down well. So what I'm actually saying to you guys is that just bear in mind that we are, in essence, ambulance chasing. So we are preying on those that have passed away recently, but it can be done respectfully, it can be done tastefully, and it can also be done professionally. Just bear in mind that when you're speaking to these people may be in a position where they've just lost a loved one, etc. So you have to take that into consideration. If you've got no ethics or if you've got no morals and you're going in just for the kill, don't expect a positive outcome because people will shut the door on you. So what I did is that I went and I met with the families, I went and had a chat with them. And generally speaking, I'll be honest, we did little marketing touches, like whenever we went to a family where we knew someone had passed away, we would go along with a bunch of flowers and say, sorry for your loss or something of that nature, just to show that we are human behind it. And it worked really well because not only did it say that, yes, we are a business, but there's also a human behind the business. And the amount of deals that we did from that was phenomenal. I don't understand why we should really carry that on, but we haven't done a lot of external marketing. All of our marketing now is done digitally. And there are ways that you can still reach these people digitally and then here's my second tip, via social media ads. So whether you're looking for, you can target people who are looking for funeral arrangements, or people that are looking for flower arrangements. You're looking for people who have put some kind of grievance on their social status. So you can put adverts right in front of their spaces. So it really is a special technique. But the advantage of this is that you're going to get a direct vendor lead. You're going to get a motivated seller. You know that the property is either going to be in either a good state or bad state, depending on how they lived. But more importantly, you're going to be able to do a great deal with them, and you're not going to have to deal with agents. Now, going back to my second tip was about the solicitors that write the wills. You can speak to these guys and say, well, I'll tell you what, for every lead that you feed us or every deal that we do, we can give you a referral fee. So this is where we start working with some of the professionals within this region. So you can start speaking to funeral directors, you can start speaking to will writers, you can start speaking to florists that are dealing specifically with cremation services, shall we say. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but when they provide the bouquet of flowers or when they provide the wreaths for the funeral services, naturally they provide that for the family or the funeral directors. So you align yourself with these companies, and what you're doing is that you're positioning yourself so that when someone, or if someone does pass away, you're in a position where you can approach these guys and say, I appreciate it's been a tough time, is there anything that we can help with? There are loads of different marketing tips, other things. So that is one where we kind of work with families who have got deceased. Now, I'm going to give you another short story, is that one which is a little bit more up-tempo and a little bit more upbeat. One of probably my best marketing strategies that I ever did was when I advertised at a football ground. Now, that sounds crazy, and it was a lot of money outlay. I think we spent the best part of 10 grand outlay from the outset. But I'm based in Wolverhampton. I advertised with the Wolverhampton Wanderers. We had a board right on the halfway line at Wolverhampton's Wanderers, and it was TV facing. So every time it was on TV, we got a load of exposure. And every other week we had 28,000 people looking at that board. We also, opposite Wolverhampton Wanderers, we had an Asda. And in the Wolverhampton Wanderers ground, there's a massive car park. And what we did as part of the package, not only did we advertise in the ground, but we also advertised on the external perimeter of the ground around the car park. And one of our adverts actually faced the Asda car park. So as you came out of Asda, you could see a big board that says, we buy property and land for cash. Can we buy yours? And it had our phone number. That was our slogan. We buy property and land for cash. Can we buy yours? Call us on 01902 That was our phone number. And in actual fact, we opened our office on Saturday hours between 9 and 5 where we created almost like a property deal clinic where someone would come out of Asda, they would see our details, they would call us. We knew they were calling us there because we could hear the car in the background. We've just seen your advert, we'd like to discuss our property with you. Oh, by the way, where are you? We're just leaving Asda car park right now. Oh, our office is actually only 2 minutes away from Asda. Would you like to come and have a quick chat about us? A lot of them said yes, some of them said no, we've got frozen food, etc. in the boot, and they wanted to go home to get that sorted. That was fine. But we booked an appointment where we then went to see them in their property. And it was a real powerful strategy. We worked on the basis that, God knows, we were taking hundreds of phone calls from that advert every month. And the only reason we closed that, the only reason we stopped that is because Wolverhampton Council said that our advert required planning permission, and when we asked whether planning permission was going to get granted or not, they said pretty much no, because they kind of saw it. Is it a distasteful ad? We buy property and land for cash, can we buy yours? They kind of said that they didn't really want that advert on the main road, which I kind of understand as well. But for the period that we had it there for pretty much 24 months, and the amount of deals that we did off that was phenomenal. We approached loads of football grounds, and we did lots of deals with football grounds, but specifically I wanted football grounds that were very close to supermarkets, and this became our strategy. So you've got to remember, when people talk about marketing, generally people are saying, let's go and put out 1,000 leaflets, or we're going to do this and that. I started to think outside the box, and I like thinking outside the box. And, would you, before listening to this podcast, would you have thought that working with funeral directors or solicitors that deal with wills and bereavements would be a good way to go? Absolutely not. Very few of you would have done that. So start thinking outside the box, start thinking of other ways that people have not been approached. And as a result of that, this is where the gold lies. This is where the best deals get done. So guys, hopefully you really enjoyed that session. It's just short, sharp, to the point. As you know, all these are one take edits, so that there are some ifs, ums and ahs, but believe it or not, that's okay. So hopefully you've enjoyed the session. As always, if you want to connect with me on social media, you can do by finding me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter and Clubhouse under the handle of Arsh EIlahi. I've also got a YouTube channel which we distribute new content to every Thursday at 4 p.m. You can find me on YouTube with the handle of Arsh EIlahi. We've got hundreds of videos on there, and it's a great resource for knowledge and information that I share. And then finally, have you downloaded the Property Investor app? So some of the deals that I find, I put all of our deals on the Property Investor app. It's the UK's first property investment platform which showcases all kinds of deals all over the country, whether you're looking for below market value deals, rent to rent deals, lease option deals, service accommodation deals, commercial deals. We've got them all there. Go over to the propertyinvestorapp.co.uk. Or if you've got a smartphone, just go to the App Store, type in Property Investor. It'll take you 2 minutes to register, and you've got all the deals in the palm of your hand. So guys, on that note, get thinking. We're in an interesting time. Lots of people are dying. And I say that I say that with the best of respect as well, should I say. If you've lost someone recently, my heart goes out to you, and hopefully you're dealing with that the best that you can. As always, if you want to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to by emailing admin@arsheilahi.com. And on that note, guys, I wish you all to be safe, well and happy. And I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thank you and bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.